Good evening, and for the last Sunday night of this class, thought I would get back into the video mode and see if I couldn't just have a final few words about where we've been and what you need to do this week, and some words of thanks for those who really carried the discussion and kept up with the work and really got involved and got each other going, which was great. Special thanks to Daryl, who's on a deployment and did a really excellent job of keeping up with things while he's under some tough circumstances, and the rest of you guys who know who you are, who kept up a real lively conversation, not only with each other but with me. I really want to thank all of you. Some of you had to back off a little bit, and that sometimes we understand, and hopefully we can take this one last shot at getting on board. And so those of you who are in that circumstance, we should do what you can, and let's see where it takes us. But what I really wanted to talk about tonight was the final assignment, how we handle it. The last week's discussion about college sports and women in sports, which was really really fun, and just the overall picture of what I hope you got out of the course. So, kind of in order, the final assignment you can see is a fairly big one, and it's one you can back up with. You even had some introduction to it last week in the reading, but I really this time want to emphasize that this really needs to be done from a very, very big picture point of view. You really have to take off the fan's hat, and you have to look at it from an economic and business point of view. What would you do to make the entity that you choose, be it a league, a governing body, something like that, what do you have to do to make that healthy and viable and prosperous over the next 10-year period? 10 years is not that long a planning horizon. It's long enough to be something you might be able to get your hands around, but it's also long enough to be a little fuzzy too. And as we've seen, a lot of things can happen in 10 years, and sport is no different than any other arena of endeavor. Things change, and they change rapidly. So think about anticipating what those changes might be, and what the changes in the sport you've chosen to write about need to be for you to keep up and for your sport to keep up. And in this effort, what I'm going to do right after I finish this video, I generally do this for every class, I'm going to put into the unit itself, into Unit 8, two examples. One is of maybe the honestly best paper I've ever gotten in doing this assignment, and then I'm also going to, by means of showing you the contrast, put up an anonymous paper of maybe one of the worst I've ever gotten. And the answer that I'm hoping you take out of those is, see if you can emulate the first, and don't be that guy with the second. Really, you have a chance to choose your format, your form, your content, your subject matter, but the quality is something that you really have to go up to a level of, would you present this to a third party? Would you present this to a director level, a chief executive level audience? And if you would, then you've done a good job. If you wouldn't, then go back and see what you can pull it up with, okay? That's it about the assignment. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, and we've had an awful lot of material to work with. Okay, this past week we talked about Title IX, and we also talked about the purpose of college sports. And one of the things that I noticed is that people have some fairly strong feelings about this. Title IX is something that's been with us for, almost 50 years now, and it's made quite a difference in the landscape, not only of college sports, but in higher education in many ways. But one of the things I do think that people really might want to look at is really consider that second question I asked when I switched up the discussion board earlier in the week. Why do we even have college sports? What do we do with them? Why are they there? It seems like they've always been there. If you go back, people kind of argue about what was the first college sporting event in the U.S. Some say it goes back to a baseball game between Emerson and Williams in like 1852, or Harvard and Yale having a rowing race that's been going on for since the 1850s or 1870s. Rutgers and Princeton always claimed the first college football game in 1869. So we have had this model of sport in college that is copied nowhere else in the world. Very, very, very singular to the United States. You just could say it's unique. And why does it exist, though? And does it exist at different levels for different reasons? My doctoral dissertation was on the use of sport in Division II schools. Something because I chose to write about that because I'm a coach in Division II sports. And let me tell you, Division II and Division I are different worlds. Division III is a different world. And the sports are there for different reasons. And in fact, even if you take Division I from what we'll call the mid-majors on down, it's a lot different than what we call the Power Five. Why do we have sports? A question that I could go on and on about for hours. But let's just say it's something I don't think the casual fan understands and has ever thought about. They treat it as almost it's another professional league to them. And really it's not. It has vastly different uses at vastly different levels. So it's always been a subject matter of interest to me. That's why I chose to study it in depth that I do. And I guess I claim to be somewhat of a minor expert about it, and would love to talk to people more about it if we had the time. The course as a whole, I really hope you took away some things in the bigger picture, in the bigger respects of sport, that it's not all about one issue or another, that there are many interrelated things that come together. The ideas of that money it's big money, but the sport, as we said in the beginning, compared to the other businesses, it's pretty small. But it's one that gets so much attention and so much emotion wrapped up to it and so much interest that it takes on a life of its own, and it almost has rules unto itself. And what may seem rational in one arena may not seem rational in sport. And sport is one place where I think the rationality principle of economics really just goes out the window. So with all this being said, I really hope you had a great experience. Apologize to you if I was maybe a little late here and there. Just like many of you, we all have competing schedules, but we do our best to get things done. And I want to thank the folks who followed it with the enthusiasm that you have for how you approach the course, what you put into it, what you got out of it. And I am really looking forward to seeing what the final assignment brings. I want to wish you all the best in what you're doing in either your next course or your next career move. Maybe this course finally had some impact on how you think about the whole idea of sport management and what you want to do with sport. And with that in mind, I'm just going to sign off and say good luck and thanks to everyone. Bye.